If the interview goes badly, he can say, "Screw you and the horse you rode in on," and actually mean it. Adam Carolla.
Yeah, get it on. Got to get on the church to get on mandate. Get it on. And welcome to the show. We got a one-on-one with Bill Shatner. Bill's got a series out called UnXplained. New episodes of the third season are airing now. That is Fridays on history. And we'll also talk about some other projects he's working on. He's mussing with his phone right now, but he's sitting at his mic, so he's ready to go.
I am ready to go. No, I'm on my phone trying to look up the names I want to mention, and I can't find them.
Well, that's all right.
No, well, I want to mention Priceline.
Oh,
and I
sure.
want to mention Bank of Canada, California, and Jordan Wine. Every year at this time, I do a horse show, big horse show.
I've been to it
in Los Angeles. I know you have. And in order to get companies, trying to get money for charity is inordinately difficult because everybody's got their hand out. And there's only so many dollars to go around. And this year, there's less dollars to go around and more hands out. So if I can just say those names and, and tell them, hey, I was on the Adam Carolla show and I said your name. Wow. So this year we're raising less money than we did last year. There are less people coming to our party, which is on Saturday night. And I haven't even booked any entertainment, so I'm going to be the entertainment. And like that.
What's your what do you do for entertainment?
Am I entertaining you right now?
Marginally, yeah. But if I paid for this, I'd
fall
be
within the
pissed.
margins. If I don't,
I cut a check.
I could take center
angry.
stage if you really force me. Well, I spent.
No, I've seen you do it.
Have you?
Oh yeah. So I told you I shall heap some quick praise. I went to an event years ago. It's been 14, 15 years now. You were the MC. It was done at like the Kodak Theater in Hollywood.
Oh.
It was on behalf of some network or something, and Bill Shatner was going to be the MC. And I sort of thought to myself, oh, he's not a comedian. He's an actor. How's this going to work? I was dubious.
What?
Dubious.
Well, what you sounded like. I'm trying to think of the word. Put me as he's an actor.
Yes,
as against a comic. Listen to the difference in tone.
Reference.
Right.
No, I knew he didn't have a stand-up act to do, and I went in with one eyebrow raised. And you took the stage, and about 10, 15 minutes in, I just turned to the person next to me, and I went, "This guy's really good."
Yeah, but you see what I've been doing. Thank you, I appreciate that. What I have been doing for many years now, and the more you do it. In front of an audience, the easier you get. And if you have a sense of humor and you're able to talk about current events or interested in other people, you can form a spontaneous hour of entertainment whereby people are interested, not just laughing, but laughing. And so you can do an hour show by just doing what we're doing.
Yeah, well, you say interested. I was telling people, I was very flattered that when you did my Truth Yeller series, we had time in between shows. You and I sat down for a steak dinner, and all you did was ask me questions about myself. I was flattered to answer them. I felt a little guilty that it was sort of a one-way conversation, that you kept asking me questions about my history and how I got into show business.
But Adam, you're very interesting. What a what a history you have from your beginnings and working with your hands, now working with your mind, and it's a fascinating story. Does everybody know it?
I don't know who does and who doesn't. I've certainly told it before, and I think it's interesting as well. But people have a limited amount of interest in others, or many have a limited interest in others, but not you.
Let's talk about that for a second.
Yes.
I was on something, a big interview show last night. Mm-hmm. And as I say, I'm doing publicity for this horse show, the Hollywood Charity Horse Show, horseshow.org, if you guys are interested in giving us any money that goes directly to kids and veterans. So they promoted me coming on. I was going to talk about the shooting in Texas, and I'm not going to talk about the shooting in Texas and alienate any audience that I might have and say, what do you mean, you're going to take away my guns? I'm a Canadian. I'm here. I have an opinion, and my opinion is what's not working, let's try something else without hating each other. Let's try and find a common solution, which is a belief in the people's basic intelligence. Mm-hmm. I mean, why? Nobody's different from you or me. So if I say to you, listen, I don't want to take away your gun, but the United States kills more kids than any other country in the world. And countries in the world, like Australia and England, who form laws not to take away your guns, but to govern them a little, background checks and deal with the mentally ill and all. The killings went down to like a huge percent, 90% of less people killed. That's appealing to people's common sense and interest. And it's my belief, and I'm sure it's yours, that most people feel that way. Most people don't want to hate. Most people want to laugh. Most people are interested in your story. Anybody's story, because anybody's story is interesting. But there are people like yourself who's achieved fame and come from a beginning that wouldn't suggest that you were going to be a worldwide known comic. Well, you smile, but you are. So where did that come from? What a fascinating story.
Yeah, and listen, I'm curious as well, and I'm always curious why more people aren't more curious. And I think maybe we could describe it this way. I think that people... All right, well, I'll describe it in a few ways. I'm curious not because I'm magnanimous, like, hey, tell me your story, which seems sort of magnanimous, or it seems sort of as a, it's like I'll give you a gift versus receive a gift. Tell me about you. I do it for selfish reasons. I like to learn stuff. I like to hear stuff. I feel the same way about, when somebody screws something up and then they go, it wasn't my fault, talk to the other guy, or you can't blame me. My feeling is I would like to blame myself so I could learn something for selfish reasons. So I feel like when I'm talking to someone and asking them questions, I'm not doing it out of a courtesy. I'm doing it possibly from a narcissistic standpoint. I would like to be entertained and learn something from this person's story.
See, that's along the theme of something that I thought was very interesting. I'm going to be given, I think it's next week, a Lifetime Achievement Award, okay? So I thought, what have I done that it's worthwhile a lifetime achievement? You've worked. You started working at something else. You worked here. You're working all the time. You're an industrious human being. Well, that's not an accomplishment. You're keeping yourself alive, your family alive. What is worth getting a thing, a prize of some kind, a statue of some kind that says you've accomplished something in your life? What is that?
Well, it's kind of interesting because they're sort of vague achievements, and then there's very precise achievements.
Yeah, you built a bridge.
You built a bridge, you get a plaque,
Right.
let's say, or you entered a race or a horse race or
love
a
the
car
race,
race
the
or a
car race,
competition
yeah.
or a barrel race,
Yeah.
and you get a blue ribbon.
Right.
You win, you get this thing. I personally think the best trophies, plaques, certificates, ribbons are the precise ones versus the kind of, you worked at this company
yeah.
for 41 years, here's a watch.
Right, but you got a blue ribbon. You won the race. You were a really good driver. Is that a lifetime accomplishment?
No, I think the way it works, and I've never thought about this, which
Good.
is,
Well, let's explore it.
if you get enough specific awards, meaning you were the
you got 3
MVP of
gold
the
ones.
league, or you were a Golden Glove winner, or you won X amount of car races, or you won X amount of horse races, at the end of your career, if you have enough specific wins, then you get a lifetime achievement. So Tom Brady wins 6 Super Bowls and X amount of MVPs, and then at the end, he gets his lifetime
All right, so
achievement
I
award.
could see where Tom Brady would get a lifetime achievement because nobody's achieved what he's got. But you and I are working actors. We're working entertainers. We get on, come on the show, we talk a bit. Goodbye, I'll see you. And that's what we do. Why
agree.
should we get a lifetime? So let me make my point
Yes.
because of what you said just prior to this. What could be an achievement in your lifetime is asking questions, like exploring the world around you, exploring the people around you, being in awe and wonder of everything around you, the stars, the grass, the nose on your wife's face, anything that causes you to question. Where do those questions come from? And this is the basis of what I thought I would say, the remark I might make that evening when I'm given the award, and that is, I think those questions come from the child within you.
Mm-hmm.
That child is what, 4, 5, 6. Wow, look at that. Why are you wearing glasses? What do glasses do? What was that? Why? How does this microphone work? Those questions that we inured to all that don't think about asking.
Right.
But then if you look, my God, I'm talking into a microphone which links to your microphone, which links to the world. Are you worldwide or just this country?
Worldwide.
So what is it? 7 billion people, or 8 now. By the time we finish the show, it'll be 8.
Right.
Billion people have a chance to hear us. How does that work?
Yeah, so I think there's this balance, and I'm glad we're having this sort of esoteric conversation because these are my favorite. I think there's a balance. I think when you're born and when you're young, you're talking about the young child within all of us.
That's right. The child that never grows and the best qualities of which are so human.
You're one big open sponge. What
can I learn? How can I help?
How
What
does
can I
this
do?
work? And then so what we do, and I think some of it is this self-preservation. We learn to kind of tune out the majesty and the mystery and the whatever, so our heads don't explode every time we get on an airplane. You know what I mean? Like, how are we this thing weighs tons and it's made of, or
If God meant us to fly, we'd have wings.
that battleship is made of nothing but steel. How's it floating in the middle of the ocean?
Exactly.
You know what I mean? How does this, so our heads would explode if we didn't tune out some of the questions and go into this is the way it is. Otherwise, you'd be marveling at your iPhone for 14 hours a day.
That's right. Well, why not?
But here's why not.
Why?
Why not is because there needs to be a certain amount of ignore this, tune it out, sort of keep walking, because we couldn't eat every meal like we were Tom Hanks trapped on an island for 4 years and then got off. We'd just be staring at it, salivating and appreciating it. And I agree with that part. But there's a balance that we have to have between, unfortunately, maybe, you may marry, Tom Brady, the aforementioned Tom Brady, he's married to a supermodel, Gisele Bündchen. He can't get up every morning and stare at her for an hour and go, my God, I know you would. But at some point he's got to get to practice.
Right.
But he should appreciate her. So then there's this sort of thing where, hey, during the weekdays, I got to get up, hun, and hustle out of the house, and you can sleep, or I'm not going to stare at you while you sleep. But on Saturday night, I shall appreciate, I shall carve out time to have a romantic dinner. So I think then that becomes the balance. And I think a lot of people are out of balance. I think they spend, when they're 4 and 5, they look around and they marvel at everything and they go, how does it all work? And oh my God, what a wondrous world we live in. And then you catch them at age 40 and they're yelling at someone on the phone and walking with purpose right past a beautiful rose garden.
Right. So my point is, I believe that you can retain the child within you and live like the child within you and still function in the modern world and go along your path. I understand what you're saying. It could blow your head, but it doesn't. I don't think it has to. I think that us sitting here, for example, in conversation, if we were in a French cafe in Paris and we were having a coffee and we were having this conversation, we could enjoy. I don't even mean Paris. I mean anywhere. I'm enjoying being in your lovely studio and looking around at all the wonderful things and lighting. You've made this studio into a very eye-catching thing. The Adam Carolla show, it looks beautiful, ladies and gentlemen.
I appreciate it.
And I'm marveling at it. You get the lighting, you got wood, you got...
Look, it's the key to happiness, obviously. And you say sort of, could we maintain this childlike wonderment?
If you could, that would be an accomplishment.
Yeah, so you're saying maintain. I'm thinking of it more as like exercise it.
Okay.
Yeah, which is, we're saying the same thing, but what I'm saying is sort of when you're 5, you're physically great, you're indestructible, your body heals and health. And there's a version physically, we're talking about mentally. Like, yes, if you exercise on a regular basis, if you watch your diet, if you so on and so forth, then you could take that kind of strength and bring it deep into adulthood.
So let's put that into an incredible event that happened recently that I'm still marveling at. This shooting in Texas, every time a news report comes in, the facts are different.
Right.
So that's the fog of war, I guess. But we now know that there were policemen there early who were told to stand down because for whatever reason they were told to stand down. So they stood down, and everybody stood around for an hour. Now, apparently the shootings were done right away, but there was time to get the guy, put the guy down, as so many people are saying, before he did all that. But the policemen who the officers that arrived intent on doing that were told stand down because we got. If you had this attitude of why, what are we doing? What's he doing? Why am I standing down? You guys stand down. I'm going in there. They might have been able to do something, but because we're so regimented, because we're so, oh yes, of course, whatever you say, sir. And that's where the attitude of, wait a minute, why am I standing down? What's he doing in there? Has anybody taken a look? Those kinds of questions that would have occurred to you if you had this attitude of question and openness.
Well, I agree, but I do also think there needs to be a sort of balance, a schedule, and a hierarchy in life, which is if you're going to drive a bus, you have a route, you have times, and you can't go, I want to explore my wanderlust by going down that street I've never been on before.
Can I tell you a story about a bus?
Yes.
So a friend of mine who's popular was on a tour bus, and it's late at night, and he's got his own bunk.
He's an actor, a
singer,
musician?
Yeah.
On a tour bus?
On a tour bus.
Can you say his name?
In the middle of the night, like at 3 o'clock in the morning, he's in Texas.
Do we know this man's name?
Yes.
Can we say
But
it?
there's no point.
Oh, it's embarrassing.
So he gets out of his bunk to go to the bathroom, and he sees the bus driver coming towards him to go to the bathroom. Who's driving the bus?
Right.
They're on a Texas highway that goes into infinity for miles.
Mm-hmm.
So the bus driver had to go, so he just put the bus in a straight line and got out of his seat.
Really?
When I heard that, I mean, that was incredible. What an extraordinary human being that must have been, the bus driver.
Well, a lot of people would want him fired.
Oh, but like, stop the bus, get out, I'll drive. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. But you say he's an incredible human being?
Well, I mean, imagine having that mentality. Imagine having the mentality of somebody who says, well, the road's pretty straight. Bus is going straight. I need to pee. I'll go in there. It'll take me 10 seconds. And I'm not even touching How many times have you driven with professional drivers who drive with 2 fingers on the wheel? I was there like yesterday. I'm being driven to a studio, and the guy's going around curves with 2 fingers on the wheel.
Well, speaking of balance, there's a element of gripping the wheel too hard, like gripping the baseball bat too hard, gripping the reins too hard, that screws up your performance, gripping a lover too hard.
Oh, I don't know about that one.
Well, it'll affect your performance.
Right.
But then there's too loose. There's this sort of balance of that sort of
he was
light
a great tater
touch.
to lose.
To lose. Speaking of lovemaking, is that something you engage in on a semi-regular basis?
Making love to in this case, and to a woman?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah, sure. Even at 90.
Really?
Oh, my God.
How often do you think if you...
Well, I mean, I try not to do to get involved more than twice a day.
Twice
maybe
a day.
that is a little mental. Maybe there is a little element of wish fulfillment there. Even at you've changed the subject abruptly. If you were a bus driver, you would have made a right-hand turn right there.
You made a face when I said hanging
well,
on
no,
to your
I mean
lover,
it's kind of. But if your question implies, at my age,
91,
and the health that I have, I just got off a horse. I was in competition yesterday afternoon.
Unbelievable.
And better than ever, because I've got a new horse that I'm trying to get used to. And talk about delicacy of touch. This horse is so delicate that you have to drive with 2 fingers. Otherwise, he does what he thinks you want him to do.
Is this a metaphor for the lovemaking, or are we
it's
talking about a horse?
along the lines of, if you don't have your health, you've lost your passion for life. I would think being in ill health for any period of time is you lose your desire to live, I'm sure.
So the lovemaking is
part of the drive, the life force in you that is there as a result of health.
Yes.
So your health, when you get down to it, your health is the primary thing. Given your health, you can do anything. You can do a broadcast every day on the Adam Carolla Show.
I agree, and it's always taken for granted. But so back to the curiosity and the wonderment.
Yes.
Just to put a bow on it. I was very impressed that when we had our dinner, you had nothing but questions. And there's a part of me that's flattered, and then there's a part of me that thinks, oh, Bill enjoys this. This is how he knows so much about everything. I was impressed that we were backstage and we were looking at the Olympics, and you were very much interested in the women's. I think it was the big ski jump, the big downhill ski jump and everything. But just this curiosity for everything. I have it. I feel the same way. I've met many, many people that don't share our curiosity. And I'm wondering how much of it is just genetic? Like, were you just always that kid?
Well, I don't. You see,
And were you always verbal when you were a kid?
As we point out, when you're young and everything is new, you look at the sidewalk and you say, "Should I jump over that crack? What does that story about my mother's back will break?
Right.
Maybe I should." And you're so willing to believe and disbelieve and think about if you hear these heartbreaking stories of these 11-year-olds talking about the shooting and all, it's one of the kids said, "Oh yeah, and he got dead," and I thought, what a phrase. That child phrase, he got dead. And I just talk about blowing my mind. Because what does death mean to a kid at this point?
Right.
But he got dead, like he got cold. Yeah, he got dead. I mean, it's just...
I have a theory about school shootings.
No,
and
go
I
ahead.
think I'd be very interested to hear what you think of this theory, which is everyone says, why now? Why so many? Like, what's going on? And then some people say availability of guns. And then others say there's always been guns. Why so many school shootings? And we do this a lot in life. We go, I think there's some statistic that, in 1950, the average American household, 63% of them had a gun. In 2022, it's a lower number now. Less households have a gun.
Oh, really? You think so?
Oh, yeah. I mean, statistically,
have you read statistics? I would think it would be the opposite.
Well, in the 50s, people did a lot more hunting, probably, and it was probably a lot more rural, protection
but a lot more
of
people are fearful now.
Yeah, so
together and
the point is what is going on if in the 50s there was statistically more guns in households and almost zero school shootings, and now what's going on? And my theory is sort of like if you go back and you go, in the 50s, let's not go to the 50s, let's just say the 80s. How many kids identified as transgender, or how many kids identified as bi or gay or whatever it is? And there's social pressures, like, hey, in the 50s, you wouldn't announce you were gay. You'd be beaten up at school or fired from your job or whatever it is. But just going back, let's just go back 10 years. What percentage of kids identified as bi or trans or gay versus now? And the answer is a lot more now. So then you have to kind of go, well, what is it? Why is it? And I have a human theory. My human theory sort of goes to Tony Hawk doing I don't know what he did, a 980 or something on a skateboard.
Yeah, I watched it.
And I talked to Tony about that, or the 4-minute mile.
Right.
The 4-minute mile stood as an unbreakable record.
Human endurance
for 2,000 years, and then it was broken.
Roger Bannister.
Right. And then it was broken again 5 weeks. 5 weeks later.
Right.
And then Tony Hawk did his 900.
Yeah.
And I said, and he said, oh yeah, 3 weeks later, a 14-year-old did it. You know what I mean? Or whatever.
Kidding.
Something like that. Now it's routine.
Now
it's routine.
Yeah.
So the point is
that's like 4 spins in ice skating and ice dancing.
As human beings, there's a strong element of this thing didn't exist and now it does.
Oh, I agree.
And now we're doing it.
Yeah, but wait a minute. To further that idea even more is this enormous communication web that we have, this thing that everybody can talk to everybody.
Right.
So
and see everything.
Was a 4-minute mile for even the Greeks didn't break it. So when that Olympic thing came along and 4-minute mile, then all of a sudden it's broken. People knew about it and it's achievable.
So my theorem is they're sort of it just is. Yeah. Now I won't call it acceptable. It just is.
Right.
And then there's more.
A mentally disturbed teenager says, well, I can do that. I can get more. They got 19. I'll get 22.
Or I can do it. like a 900.
I don't think there's any. I don't think there's any argument with that. That makes a great deal of sense, given the plethora of intercommunication, all the things that everybody has, including most teenagers, have the internet and all its itinerant things available to them, so that they can brag and talk. And
did you ever? And I'm hopping around here, but you were born in 1931. 31.
Could have asked.
I should have. I've had to do the math, but
right.
my dad is your age. That's why I'm able to kind of calculate it. Could there be more technological innovation in a lifetime than your lifetime?
We Adam, one of the, and this is the awe and wonder thing we were talking about. We're living in a historical period of time when, you read if you study history and they say, oh yeah, the 100-Year War, and then there was the Napoleon and then the Thermopylae, and we're living in an age. We've seen Thermopylae, the Greeks and the Persians and the thing and the 300 yards and the fleet is coming in, and by miracle the Greeks we've seen that happen in front of us. In Ukraine, we talk about there was all before World War or during World War this pandemic and people died. We're living in it.
Yeah, what's interesting. I just thought of. I've pre-labeled it interesting. I probably shouldn't do that. You decide if it's interesting.
It's interesting. If you thought of it, it's
all the movies and all the Hollywood version of the future, you are acutely aware, being involved in one of the biggest series ever about the future. All the depictions of the future were either sort of utopian or dystopian. It was like it never stopped raining. Everyone was kind of dressed in gray overcoats and living underground, or it was this sort of beautiful, euphemistic kind of version of society. I grew up kind of watching that stuff going, wonder which direction we're going here. I didn't really anticipate both directions so severely. Right. I didn't anticipate what's going on in Ukraine, what's going on in China, what's going on in parts of the Middle East versus
Beverly Hills.
Yeah, I mean, not even that, but I mean, you going to outer space and the F1 race in Miami, you know what I mean? With all the yachts and all the beautiful people and the colors and the technology and just simultaneously.
The divergent haves and have-nots.
Yeah, we said when it came to Hollywood, like, hey, for the future, pick a lane. We're either going happy or we're going sad. I had no idea that there would be this, human trafficking would be a while you're going into orbit.
Yeah. Well, the chances of it even getting worse, of course, are profound. I mean, we're looking at historical events all the time to be summed up in the biggest historical event, which is as we approach we got global warming already. The potential of being able to control global warming. We're approaching our inability to do so. And with our inability to do so will come more of the things that are affecting us now: drought, fire, all the things that will affect mankind's ability to live, both above the water, which will be polluted, and not enough food, which we're looking at now with the Crimea, with Ukraine being assaulted. We're looking at historical things. So in addition to looking at them saying, my gosh, look at that happening, we've got to do something about it. So that's been my message. I've been an ecologist for a long time. I read the books that were around.
Ecology is what we used to call it in the 70s. What? Ecology.
It's ecology.
Oh, that's what it was called in 1972.
That's what it's called now.
nobody says ecology anymore.
It's ecology.
I agree.
Yeah.
But it's like you're basically saying they're Negroes, and I'm going, no, it's African American, and you go, it's the same thing.
Yeah, but it's the terms. I see. I don't understand that either. What if somebody doesn't like being called a name that name that was put upon them, whether it's coming from Africa or a religious bent? So, all right, you don't want to be called that? What do you want to be called? I'll call you anything you want. I don't disparage you. I'll just call you. Tell me what you want.
I'm sorry, I got us off of ecology by picking on the term ecology. But,
right.
But keep going.
Well, so it doesn't matter. Rachel Carlson wrote a book, Silent Spring, 60 years ago, in which she said this is what's going to happen, and it's happening. After I read that book, I began talking like we're talking. Oh my God, man, we got to stop. We got to stop burning coal. All the things we're attempting to do now. So I've been at it for a long time, saying we're going to kill ourselves. Now we're at the point we are going to kill ourselves. We got 20, 30 years, enough for your children to grow up and be our age or your age, and be facing dire things.
Well, here's the question then, and I heard somebody phrase it in a way I liked, but you tell me. As it pertains to ecology, global warming, climate change, whatever we're calling it, some groups are for change and for preservation, for whatever, with humans in mind, and some seem to be radical and don't really have the human involved into the equation. For instance, what I'm saying is you know, we're in California. We got another drought coming. You know, they want to build a desalination plant. They're against it. You know, they want to build a nuclear power plant. They're against it. You know, but we need power and we need water with ecology in mind, but also with residents of California and the nation and the globe, like, in mind. And so I'm all for an approach that factors people in. I wonder if I feel like the movement has been somewhat hijacked by more radical people that is hurting the movement.
Radical on the side of saving, or the radical?
Yes, saying
saving the ecology and eliminating the human factor.
Well, it's in an unrealistic way. Like you say, you know, we want solar, we want wind, we want renewables, and then you go, good, me too, but we don't really have a way to store the energy right now, or at least enough to power this huge place we're living in, California, Los Angeles, whatever. So why don't we do solar, and why don't we do wind, and then why don't we do nuclear as well? And then they go, no nukes. We're not going to do that. And then you go, okay, but now we're going to have brownouts and blackouts, and we don't have the infrastructure.
I understand what you're saying. So the problem with that we all know with nuclear is, what do you do with the waste? So we're burying it under a mountain at the moment, and the possibility at some point in time that it leaks into the aquifers, and then we're destroyed by...
Well, it has to be, I think a lot of this can be addressed with technology.
Yeah, a lot of it can. But what? For example, there is a company that I read about, that has started carbon capture.
Right.
They're able to get carbon dioxide out of the air, solidify it, and bury it. I think they have to bury it in basalt rock, and then it turns to rock.
Right.
That's a burgeoning technology. If they could get that going in the next 10 years and take methane out as well, then we've got a large part of the problem solved. But we got to put our money into it. We got to have a Manhattan. Why aren't we starting a Manhattan Project to take every scientist has any idea and give them some money to think of how to get us out of this mess? Why aren't we building right here in Southern California a tunnel not to go from Los Angeles to San Francisco, but to take water from anywhere, in this case from a river up north, that has satisfied the state for agricultural needs, has satisfied the Native Americans and their religious needs, and just before it becomes brine, you take that fresh water and you, with pipes that, how many highways do we build immediately? Build a pipeline down to one of our major reservoirs. Why haven't that been done?
Well, because the activists who are environmental activists are not going to have it.
But the argument is, look, folks, we're all going to die. We don't have enough water.
This is my point. I'm not sure that they care so much about the human part of it.
I don't agree. And I haven't heard anybody say, because JPL said we can put a tunnel underneath the sea, the beach, 100 feet under the beach. We could put 2 4-foot tunnels made of Kevlar and bring water from whatever that river is, the Columbia River, and bring it down here to Southern California and put it in the reservoirs, which are almost empty. You remember that thing about Atlanta?
But who do you think would object to that?
Who do you think? I've never heard of any objection.
There would be a lot of objections.
I don't know about that.
Oh, poor 91-year-old naive Bill Shatner. That's the 5-year-old
100
in you
feet
talking.
under a beach?
Look, they just tried to open a desalination plant.
But desalination, what do you do with that salt? Look at what the potential is of the desalination plant. You've got this massive amount of salt, which is poisonous.
Well, Israel's been doing it for a long time, and they figured it out, and they have a much smaller
body to do with the salt.
Body of water. Well, I'm no marine biologist, but I did hear that there's a current that takes it out.
No, but then you increase the salt in the ocean, and the ocean is whatever the percentage of salinity has been like that for millions of years, and the beings that live in the ocean would die if there was more salt.
If somebody from JPL said, I want to make a tunnel to Oregon, some version of this argument would come up. It wouldn't be salt. It would be the indigenous people, the indigenous land. There would be.
But that's theoretical. If the federal government said this is what has to be so 40 million people can live with some water. You remember the thing in Atlanta? Their lake that they rely on was almost dry. And by the fates, there was a rainstorm that refilled the lake. But everybody in Atlanta has got to be thinking, when is that going to happen again? And what happens if it doesn't rain?
I'm with you on carbon scrubbers. I'm with you on tunnels to up north for water supply. I'm with you on all that. I am saying it will not get done because people will fight it, and groups will fight it.
Well, you have to.
And for some reason,
and common sense.
I'm with you, but unfortunately, we take small special interest groups and we let them sort of steer the ship that the rest of us are in.
That's why voting is so important.
I concur. All right, we need to take a very brief break, and we'll come back with Bill Shatner, and we'll do the birthday bump in too, so you can hear who else was born on your birthday.
Oh, you're kidding.
Yeah, so
they're all dead.
This will spark a conversation. Geico, like save a little money on your car insurance? Yeah, me too. That's why we go with Geico. They can help you save on car insurance, truck, motorcycle, boat, RV, even homeowners, condos, or renters coverage. Save even more with the discount when you bundle. So you get the bigger discount and you get your bundle. And they also have an app. When we get the Geico mobile app, you get 24-hour roadside assistance. So switching is a no-brainer with Geico. That's geico.com.
The Adam Carolla Show presents William Shatner's birthday cocktail party for March 22nd. Let's see who's invited. First in, the pre-World War I German Emperor, Kaiser Wilhelm I. American physicist Robert A. Millikan. The first president of the Philippines, Emilio Aguinaldo. One of the Marx brothers, Chico Marx. The guy who wrote the theme to Gilligan's Island, George Weil. Tony Award winner Stephen Sondheim is here. Author James Patterson just joined us. Composer Andrew Lloyd Webber is here. We welcome Wolf Blitzer, Bob Costas, Matthew Modine. Reese Witherspoon is here. The NFL's J.J. Watt just walked in. And the Canadian chairman of the World Anti-Doping Agency is here. And it's important because his name is Dick Pound. William Shatner on the Adam Carolla Show.
Did you know all those people were born on your birthday?
No, they were born years after my birth.
Some before.
Oh, with Kaiser William?
Wilhelm.
Oh, you're talking about March 22nd.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's one of 365 days, right?
Uh-huh.
So 365 divided to 7 billion.
Well, not all are notable. That's all we're saying.
Well, what is notable? We talked about that earlier. What is notable? Notable means, you got the Adam Carolla Show in the headline, and we're talking about the Adam Carolla Show. But what happens if the kids in the... I talked to, what's his name? The wonderful, or he was wonderful for the purpose, Republican broadcaster, Bombastic, who now just died.
Oh, just died. Rush Limbaugh.
Rush Limbaugh. So I interviewed Rush Limbaugh.
Mm-hmm.
And he talked about, I was just fascinated, where does this come from? He would talk about having a broadcasting system in their house. By the way, there were numerous people named Rush Limbaugh in his family.
Interesting.
And he would broadcast as a kid, at 7, 8, 9, 10. He would say, and this is the Rush Limbaugh Show, in his house. Where does that come from? Where does that...
in his house, talking into a wooden spoon.
Well,
right?
no, he had a little broadcasting.
Oh, he did. He was
so
broadcasting.
What I'm saying is that, what am I saying? I'm saying that those people born on that date, everybody born on that date, they just need to put a sign up that says the Dick Burgess Show. It doesn't have to be broadcast. Everybody has their glory. Whether I met a guy, listen to this one. I met a guy sitting, I'm doing an hour, and there's a guy sitting down in the audience. Where are you from? Well, I'm from the Sudan. What? Yeah, I was, you see these pictures of the kid herding goats and things like that. I was that until I was 12. I walked out of the Sudan to get away from war, and I dug the needles out of them. No kidding. Yeah, and I walked back, and then I was picked up by a refugee company, and I was flown to Minneapolis, and I got an American education. And I said, what do you do now? He says, I'm a senior engineer, rocket engineer. This kid went from being a little starving goat herd to being a senior rocket engineer in his 30s and 40s. Is that a miracle? Is that a lifetime accomplishment? Is that like having your own show?
Yeah.
Everybody has their own show.
Well, certainly has the potential for it. I don't know that everyone lives up to it or pursues it per se.
But they could do it.
Yeah, well, I think the one real gift you get as you get older, I mean, your joints hurt a little bit, but you do.
A lot.
But you get this.
By the way, how old are you, Adam?
58. Well, I turned 58 today, actually.
No kidding.
Yes.
Are you looking forward to 60?
Sure.
I went to bed when I was 40 for 3 days, apparently. So tell me now, I didn't get out of bed for 3 days when I turned 40. 60 is a pretty interesting age.
Well, here's what I'm saying. When you get older, you have a different relationship with time, and you also have a different relationship with change.
And your body.
And your body. And you've seen what you can do. I remember being 18, 19, living in my dad's garage with no job and no prospects, and just sort of going, how can I possibly do anything? But I didn't really realize how much you can get done and how fast time moves, and it's a gift that people who are effective and efficient, it's like, talking about tunneling, Elon Musk, you know what I mean? The main gift that Elon Musk possesses is not
money,
not the gift of money and not the gift of IQ. It's the gift of knowing he can do whatever he wants because he's done things that I'll start an electric car company. I'll put someone in orbit. I'll put a Tesla in orbit. Like things that sound insane. Now, other people are thinking, I want to save up and buy a used scooter. But he's not thinking that way. And you have the gift, you have it, I have it. The gift of writing a book or the gift of making a documentary is really just how easy it is to know that you can write your next book or make your next doc versus struggling with a book for 18 years that never
I'm going to ask
published.
you a question. I just want to say I've got a book coming out, Boldly Go, coming out in October. And it's really interesting, and we could talk about the subject. But you just said something that absolutely rang a bell. I walked into your studio, and it's made in a former garage. Were cars repaired here?
I bought this building about 20 years ago, and it was a flooring place. And then I moved in, not thinking about podcasting or broadcasting. I moved in because I wanted a wood. Where we're sitting right now, I had built a wood corral. I'd put my table saw in the middle.
And that was your background.
Yeah, my dream was to have a place where I could build cabinets.
All right, so it looks like, and this is the second time I've been here, and I don't know why I didn't remember until this moment. I've been here, this is the second time. It looks like a garage, and you just said, I was living in my father's garage, and here you've replicated a garage. There's a car over there. There's all kinds of, it's, to my look, except for this wonderful smaller studio, the rest of this downstairs, if there's another floor, the rest of this downstairs looks like a garage. And I wonder if subconsciously you haven't replicated the garage you were living in where you were wondering what you were going to be.
Well, on the emotional subconscious angle of this, I lived in a garage that was converted into a bad bedroom. So it was technically garage, but it had flooring. For me, I grew up with a love of cars and all things mechanical, and it was a complete void in my life growing up. My dad had no interest in cars. My dad probably dislikes cars. I would say you couldn't find someone with less mechanical acumen or less interest in cars than my dad. It would be hard to find an adult male.
Yes, and how then and here we are talking like I like to talk, how do you relate, having gone from this total zen in the art of motorcycle maintenance, the thrill of a machine and getting off on a machine, to making your living totally mentally and talking?
I don't think they're as far apart as we think they are.
Really?
I think there's a linear mechanical part of my thinking that has an application and a training in building that leads to a pragmatism of thought.
Wow. I would never have thought that. You're saying by building something that is real, aids in the process of building something that is an idea or a joke.
Yeah, I would say, well, the joke part is just sort of, you're funny like some people can sing. Now, we don't know what we're going to do with you can sing or you have a good voice. You can still be a fry cook and have, the best singing voice of a guy working a grill, or we might be able to nurture it and take it some direction. But I believe that sense of humor is that's just a built-in thing. We'll see what we can do with it, or we can ignore it, and I can get a job at H&R Block. That's what I sort of understood. But the mechanical part of life does help you in constructing jokes and having conversations that are linear, that make sense, that have a pragmatism. I think, my sense of humor is based in some pragmatism, something that works, something that makes sense. Well, and that's where the building comes in.
That's so interesting. I hadn't thought of that, but that is so interesting. I did a commercial this week, really big thing. I can't tell you about because they want to announce it. But in the process of taking the words that the advertising agency had written for me, and they wanted it to be amusing, I would do several takes and say, well, wait a minute, if we drop that word, if we do this. So mechanically, because we both know that the construction of a joke is very delicate. It's as delicate as a balancing act. If you have too many words, it's not going to be funny. If you don't have the right word, it's not going to be funny. It's a very delicate thing that needs a construction. And that's what you're referring to. And I hadn't thought of the relationship of working with wood, for example, and working with a joke, how there could be similar lines. That's fascinating.
I think in general, if you're involved with, if part of your life is a mechanical of endeavor, and it doesn't have to be repairing diesel engines, could be building a treehouse for your kids or something, but something that involves some planning, some engineering, some construction. There's many phases of it. There's the creative part. Oh, I would like a treehouse for my children. I could imagine what that might look like.
Did you, by the way, build one?
I built them swings and beds and lofts and
they want a treehouse.
All that stuff. Well, they're not getting one, but I built many things for my kids. I built many things for me and others. So there's a sort of idea part of it that is pretty creative, and then there's the planning part, and then there's the actual execution part. I'm saying that endeavor keeps you sane and grounded. And I think a lot of the problems, what we're seeing in our society is people drifting away from that tangible, practical, tactile world and going into this ether, this digital, on the internet, information flying at me. Doesn't matter if all the information is correct. We always talk about disinformation, misinformation. Just sitting in a stream with that much stimuli flying at you while you're sedentary. We weren't prepared for this. We need to go out and chop some wood. We need to ride a horse. We need to fix a car. We've been working hard to eliminate all this. Be careful what you eliminate. I think we need it.
Yeah. I agree with you that kids need and doctors will prescribe that being careful what you eliminate is a bad joke. Yes, practical, something practical. Or, practicality can lend itself mentally as well. Practicality, helping somebody across the street, helping somebody with their thought process, helping get some training so you can help people be happier. I mean, it isn't just information. I don't want to sound.
Well, I'll give you an example. I would prefer, let's say, politicians that ran a small business for a number of years, had the experience of meeting payroll and dealing with employees and dealing with regulation and insurance and all that kind of stuff before they moved in to office and started making decrees about small businesses. You know what I'm saying? Like a sort of tangible,
have some practical living before you go into politics, where you can
how it would affect the businesses and the people.
Oh, I don't think there's any question. I think that it was meant to be that way, where when you were voted into office, you came in with some wisdom of life so that you could help people. I mean, that was the original idea until it got curtailed by people thinking, I can make a living there. That's a pretty good salary. I'm going to hang on to my salary.
Right. So for you, as we come to the end of another glorious hour with Bill Shatner, first things first, my 91-year-old dad said to me the other day, I don't feel 91. He looks 91, but he doesn't. Mentally, he just he feels like a kid. And I'm not a kid, but it's some nebulous age where you're just
Right.
constantly forever 35 in your head. Or
that's
something.
exactly right.
Is that how you feel?
Yeah, I whenever you say the number 91, I tend to look behind me to see to whom you're talking.
And a lot of what you have is genetic, but also a lot of it is a sort of get out and exercise it every day. I don't mean always physically, but I mean mentally, emotionally.
Absolutely.
Asking questions.
I think it's a muscle. I think the brain's a muscle, and you ask questions, get answers, ask more questions, and have some answers for yourself. You educate yourself on listening to other people's experiences. I mean, just telling me about, as you did in the past, the woodwork and working with your hands and what it does. Wow, that's a fascinating guy, because I never did that. I love machinery, but I've always stood in, back and looked on. I couldn't possibly work that. Watches. Do you love watches?
I don't have watches because I have in many ways a poor man's mentality, and expensive watches are like for somebody else in my head.
Well, I do too.
But I love the precision and the mechanics
That's
of
what
that.
I'm referring to. It's the mechanics of it.
Yes.
And the fineness of that mechanics. And that's really what I mean. So that there is this practical material world that you could be working with your hands, but I don't think it eliminates somebody who doesn't have that identification working a practical world with their mind.
I agree, and I would also just add on that you don't have to be a journeyman carpenter to sort of reap the benefits of the physical world. You can literally just go wash your own car or go clean out your garage on a Saturday, and you will find much more emotional benefits from that than you could have ever imagined, because you in your head have said, it's cleaning a car. What's that have to do with
apropos of that, I've got a wonderful guy who's my favorite mechanic. I bring my cars there. So I have, excuse me, I have an old car.
What do you have?
An old BMW SUV. And it's like the dog car, and it's...
That you drove here today.
That's right.
Yes.
And it's 15 years old or more. I brought it to the mechanic. I said, make it look big. You make it look like new.
Have a sip of water there, Bill.
And he did everything. And I drove it here today, and I've fallen in love with my car.
It looks beautiful. All right, well, before Bill...
Before I die.
Dies.
Yeah.
Let me get the plug in. The UnXplained, new episodes, third season airing now. That'll be Fridays on history, and also the series I Don't Understand, and you can check out season 2. And the book, Boldly Go, Reflections on a Life. And I think you can pre-order that, but you should come back before that and check that out.
Adam.
Sorry, Bill.
The news of the day. Shatner dies on the Adam Carolla show. Unexpectedly dying. He slumped over the desk. He hit his head on the microphone, causing him to bleed, and he bled out. No, my voice is back.
We would get... Look, I don't wish for you to die, but if
I
you
were
are going to die,
please die here.
Yeah, we'll get collects.
Okay.
All right. And you can watch Bill and I on Truth Yeller as well. And until next time, Sam Carolla for Bill Shatner saying mahalo.
It's late at night. You should be tired, but you're shaking uncontrollably.
That's awesome.
Oh, Huel.
Can I buy you guys at least one drink just to celebrate?
This is a smart cocktail.
Just put some on his finger, just a little on your lips.